No, no, I'll bang into it for a bit. Yeah, I'll bang into it. Thanks, mate. You did a good job, and I particularly liked your slides and your demo. I think it created some good conversation. So there's the number that's global. So following on from Matt and his 80% and 75% of organisations that are already using AI in their work today. Did you think that it was that high in terms of the staff in your organisation? Yeah, I see some nods and I see some shakes of heads. So they're using, again, I'll mention some of those brands, Gemini, Claude, Propensity, ChatGPT. We love ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the bedrock of where we come from with Copilot. But as a business-oriented company as we are, not founded on advertising, but founded on commercial product, and working with enterprises for certainly the 34 years I've been part of it, we take the security of your data very, very seriously. So when we get into the Australian market and we see the number is that big, the biggest in the planet, Australians are very quick to adopt AI technology. 84% of businesses in this country have got some sort of usage of AI by their employees today. Probably without the leadership even knowing it. So I do call on you as leaders, almost to be parents and have a conversation with your children about please don't use consumer grade products in the business unless you're doing holiday planning, unless you're writing poetry for your wives. And if you're using anything other than that, I'll give you the fears, that comment I made earlier about this private school. The law case, who knows the Avenca Airlines versus Matera in New York City? No? So that was a shocker. This lawyer is going into court to defend his client, goes to ChatGPT and says, can you give me the precedent related to taking on an airline? It made it up. The dude goes into court and says to the judge, I have precedents, Your Honour, for this matter. It should be dismissed. And the judge happens to be an expert with respect to this particular case law. There is no precedent like you're quoting. Where'd you get that from? ChatGPT, sir. No, you're out. You're done. It's made it up. It hallucinates. Why does it hallucinate? Because people tell it porky pies and it remembers the porky pies and uses it back. It is a consumer-based product. It has no citations. Whether it's Gemini or Propensity or any of those other consumer products, you tell it the lie, it remembers the lie and thinks it's a truth. Hence you get in a Copilot, it's working from verified and cited and authored documents. There are references that come back. You might have seen on the queries when you ask it to generate something, even on the web. This is where it got it from, this is where I got it from, this is where I got it from. It is a Copilot, not a pilot. So you, well, that looks a bit dodgy. I'm not trusting that one. But these are trusted sources. Yep, I'll take that back. Similarly, even when you look at the work element, and I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, you've got to watch for malicious employees who try and poison your database. You get an employee who's angry with you, they could inject a document into your policy list, which is not compliant to the policy. So that's come from Sean. Sean's not happy. 2 weeks ago he left. That's Sean's document. I don't know if I trust Sean's document. We'll go and look at Austin's document or Tommy's document because that's one to trust. Anyway, I'm getting off track. This is a diagram that I created over, well gosh, nearly 2 years ago, because as you mentioned correctly, November 2022 was where generative AI occurred, and the first AI was actually 1957. So AI has been around a long time, but generative AI, the idea of a ChatGPT or a Gemini, that's only fairly new. So I put this up to give people in a generative AI summit what was going on in that world. And they went, yep, that's right, yep, we as users, human beings, we get into a browser, we put in some prompts, we put in some data, and this thing called OpenAI uses it, trains it, and stores the data. So anybody else who decides to come in, tell me the documents and the emails that Tony sent. That's how I was able to get it. Tell me the documents Gail was working on and the business documents that she was doing for bookkeeping. Here you go, there they are. You know the prompt to write, that data is still sitting there for anybody on the planet who's got the source to do it to access. And I am scaring you intentionally.
Yeah, because it's scary.
It is scary. And in your industry, they're saying use it. And that's even scarier. That well-educated individuals are going out and saying that sort of stuff is even scarier to me. And so I have an action that I'm taking to go back and see if we can get to some of those industry people and correct them their thinking. Because this is what they should be using. And advocating is a model that says your data is your data. It's not my data as Microsoft. It's not your data as anybody else other than your business. So anything you're working with respect to documents, spreadsheets, emails, SharePoint sites, that's your data. It's not Microsoft's, it's yours. Not available to any other organisation, it's yours. And when that data goes across to the same clever engine, any responses are not stored there. Anything it generates is not stored there. It comes back into here and it's stored in your tenancy. It's not stored so that anybody else can ask questions of it. And I think that's foundational to a secure and governed environment. But I did make reference, didn't I, to a private school scenario and a construction firm, didn't I? That's because within here, within that first bubble, they hadn't created additional bubbles to protect the data within their business. Now, I know I've already broken one barrier here to say you've got to have a bubble, but now I'm advocating to you that you have another bubble. Bubbles within the bubbles. Sounds like champagne. Well, properly implemented by Matt and his team, you can have those bubbles where HR has got their data, employment records are stored, so that a school kid can't say, tell me all the salaries of the teaching staff. Where people who are working in the legal department, who are working on confidential terms and conditions and agreements is stored, so that any salesperson, I wonder what they're working on. Tell me what's happening in legal about that purchasing agreement or change of terms. They can't get it until the right time comes. There's somebody in the senior management team decides, I've been working on a whole organisational structural change, and I've been having correspondence with the senior management team about stuff, that I'm ready to release it to everybody. But you can work on that information, use the Copilot to generate information for you without the rest of the business being able to see it. Is it kind of helping to understand and frame the importance of using a commercial grade? You know, the one on the previous slide, it's pretty cool. It's cool. But how are you paying for the usage of that? It's an old adage, you're paying for it with your data. When you use Google and you're doing a search, you're paying for that service by giving them your data. That's why when you go to the Sydney Morning Herald site or the West Australian site, it's got ads for what you were searching for. Because it's learning from that. We don't operate that way. We're not an advertising company. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Google. Google's a great model. My daughter works at Google. It's an advertising company. So you use Google Chrome, you use Gemini, it's taking that data and it's going to use it to advertise to you because they're making money out of the Kellogg's cornflakes, they're making it out of the mining companies, they're making it out of the trouble companies that you might be searching for. When you use Edge, when you use the Microsoft products, none of that's shared for advertising purposes or retained, it's your data. If I play this little video, but it's just a cute little video that gives you a sense of how people are getting value out of it. Ooh, the video didn't play. That's all right.
We'll share this with.
Yep. There's more than one Copilot, and that's what this slide 6 to 10. The one that Matt kindly showed was more around the knowledge worker scenario over here. But there are actually Copilots built specifically for somebody who might work in customer service call centres. Commonwealth Bank uses Copilot for all their call centre staff now. They replaced a substantial $15 million a year call centre product called Genesis by using Copilot Studio. The ladies at the back are familiar with that. They know how Power Apps works. They completely replaced a $15 million a year expense in a call centre system by using Copilot to develop something and interface it to their Visa card system, their MasterCard system, to their banking system, to their mortgage system by using this low-code, no-code development. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm not asking the Moncrieff team to do that, but I'm saying that is the potential of what's possible to create tailor-made customer service. Multi-language. You call them up now, you start speaking in English, it responds. If you start talking in Mandarin, it will respond. You start talking in Hindu, it will respond in that language. It detects the language and it will respond in that language. Salespeople directly connects into the CRM. Who uses HubSpot? Anybody? Dynamic CRM? Yep. Salesforce? You can connect into that. So when you're in that experience of an Excel or even in an email, it's updating the CRM system with the emails you're doing. So you've got complete linkages between your Salesforce system, your Microsoft Dynamics CRM system, and what your emails are, because it's got that knowledge. And so when you ask a question in Excel, tell me who my top 10 customers are with their trailing 12 months revenue, it will actually go into your accounting system under the finance and get that information out and bring that into a spreadsheet. And then you can say, well, give me some insights on that. So it's even bigger than something that's working with documents and files and spreadsheets. It's actually working with your business data.
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there scope, what you're saying, that it can interact with, say, third-party software like a Meyer or something like that?
Absolutely. My Hub connector's already done. Xero connector's already done. We've got 1,300 interconnects already done. 1,300. So you can then add that.
Connectors like the facilitating medium move on.
I'll show you a demo in a sec. Okay, of doing exactly that sort of thing. Lots of co-pilots, as I said. We've got them for sales, for finance, for service, for security. Don't worry about it. The Moncrieff team will use that. They use generative AI. The attackers out there, the cybercrime organisations, are vicious. They're using AI themselves. So we're using AI against them, and we're giving that AI to the Moncrieff team, if they seek to use it, to also say, what are the trends? What's happened in the last overnight? What are some of the attacks? These are the most current attacks. What machines in my customer base, in my user base, are exposed to these attacks? Well, this machine here is running an old version of this, and that software is running on that machine. Those are the target items. What should I do to harden my environment to prevent that happening? We recommend you do this, this, and this to protect those machines against that attack. And appropriately configured, you can even say, please go and do that for me. And it'll actually go and harden those machines with the required, if you've got those technologies deployed to harden up. That's actually the first one Microsoft invested in when we did the deal with OpenAI. GitHub. Anybody have a clue what a GitHub is? You do. Tell us what a GitHub is.
Was he doing?
For developers.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember 60% of Microsoft people are coders. They write code. 70 to 80% increase in productivity by putting a co-pilot on it. Big brand names here in Australia. You've heard of Atlassian with Jira. Massive users of this technology because they increase their productivity in writing code by significant, not only productivity but quality of code has dramatically increased. I cut to the chase and say this is a defining moment in the history of IT, of humankind. Not only for the consumer stuff, which is good with its dangers, but the fact that you can do this level of development, you can take it up against those cybercrime organisations, that you can increase your sales insights, your financial services insights, your ability to provide customer service is mind-boggling. And then we talked about Copilot out there, Copilot Studio, the sort of thing that's possible, like that Power App that Matt showed, to do the interconnection to things that aren't part of that 1,300, right? 1,300 connectors, Xero, MYOB, HubSpot, SAP, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I don't have that one. Microsoft doesn't have it. That's all right. Get the interns at the back with their Power Platform skills. They can do that and make that connection for you. This is a quick video of it in Teams. Let's see if the sound comes through. No sound. That's all right. Don't worry, I can talk through it. So this is saying the chap here is not able to attend a meeting. So he said, follow the meeting. And Matt kind of did the demo a moment ago. He wanted a meeting recap. You can see all the different speakers, when they spoke, what the summary was, the tasks that were assigned. I can see that Samantha's got this deal and she's got to do that by so-and-so. So that's when you followed a meeting. Oh, you can also ask questions, which goes to the transcript. Why did we discuss? Combing through, this is why we decided to choose that particular partner. Why did we choose Prospware? Because of these requirements. I wasn't in the meeting, but I can very rapidly get answers to questions of meetings I didn't attend by using the meeting recap that Matt showed. And it actually gives you citations. So it's not making it up, it's showing you in the transcript specifically where those words were spoken. Now he's jumping into a live meeting. So now I'm following a live meeting. I might have been a little bit late. So tell me what I've missed out so far. You're 5-10 minutes late. It's giving you a recap. Right? They're talking about renewable energies, recycling, inventory demand. Okay, so now I'm going to say, how does the group feel about the inventory status? It's detecting sentiment, anger, frustration, joy, delight. It's giving you insights to that information that from doing it as well. One of the questions I often will ask after a meeting or during a meeting, what's the tension in the meeting? Now, tension's an interesting word because it has sentiment. It can be words that come out like, I'm angry about that, I'm disappointed in that decision, I'm delighted that we've decided to go with those. But how about this? That's great. Or, well, that's great. That's actually different sentiment. And it can detect that sarcasm as a tension point versus somebody who's really happy with it. Because it's analysing voice tones within inside this technology as well. So pretty amazing. Look, if you're interested in some demos, there's a whole stack of them behind there. 76 of them now on that QR code. And you can go and have a look at it in Teams, in Word, in Excel. You can have a look at it working inside SharePoint. You can have a look at it working in various different versions of Teams, in Outlook, the prioritised email. We've just had our big event in Chicago. It was run. One of the announcements we made there was prioritise my Outlook. So you're in your email, you're all familiar with Outlook, yeah? You can now have an agent that runs that each day will surface to you the top 10, say, customers of yours. Now that can be a changing list. How does it learn that list? By your interaction with those customers. So it's saying you're interacting more with one customer, less with another. It drops out of the top 10 list. It's still in your email box, but it's not brought to the top. That agent's running. It's learning how you behave, how you work with your mailbox, and will surface that top 10 for you, significantly increasing your productivity, because you probably are worried about the top 10 things, maybe not the bottom 10 things. So that's a bunch of QR code. That QR code's good. Now this isn't now new. It's been live since January, this Copilot stuff. It was January 16, we started moving it out there. I think we can do better at marketing it, but I do know that there's people out there who are threatened by it. Okay, let me put it this way. 70 out of the top 100 businesses in this country have already gone Copilot. Those other 30, why haven't they gone? Mixture of different reasons. One of the most profound reasons is they say, we're under too much time, budget pressure to make the investment. We can't do it. Now my sentiment on that, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So your competitors, those other 70 businesses, are moving ahead at a rapid rate because of the level of innovation they can get. And you look at the numbers that are already coming through. Increases in quality of work, increases in productivity. We ran a trial at the CommBank across a broad group of users early on, and we said, oh, okay, in compensation for taking the Copilot away, we'll give you a free lunch. 77% said, you can keep your free lunch, I've got to have this Copilot in my life. I can't give it up. It's just increasing my productivity too much. It's increasing my productivity of work. See you, Sean? Sorry for using your name as a... It wasn't meant in vain. It was just legible. But yeah, so we put this into our Work Trends Index survey, 31,000 people every 6 months sampled. You can have a look at that by just going to aka.ms/WTI and you'll find those trend indexes which give you the data that backs it up. This is a little video that isn't going to have the audio to it, unfortunately, unless Matt just fixed it.
one like this was with doing like this.
Don't worry, I could talk over it. That's okay. So in this case, the young lady whose voice is behind this is asking to write a social media post, but she realises that's not enough. It's got to get more specific. What are the pros and cons of social media? So it's not just asking generally about social media. And in this case, I want you to give me a response which is targeted pre-teens and about casual use. So guide it to the sort of answer you want to get back. And I really like you to bring in mental health and make reference to this specific document. So it's got context, it's got cited information, and you get a response back. And you review that, and you go, oh yeah, I could keep that, or didn't like it, I can hit the refresh button. I don't know if you know this term non-deterministic. AI is non-deterministic. It means it can create a different answer, seconds later than the original answer. Right, so now you're saying, I want you to give me a bit more. In fact, you don't have to write all that again. You just add it on to the end of the conversation. Delve into excess screen time, cyberbullying, and goes out. So this is the conclusion. This is not like a Google search. This is not a keyword search. It's semantic. It will take nuances of words and look towards that. You can find that video in that list that I gave you, but it's quite good to give you an indication that this is very different to the way in which you do your Google searches today. Get specific. Who's your target audience? Give it reference points to documents that you trust to go and work from. And then agree with it, review it, or disagree with it and say why you disagree with it so it can learn, but in the context of your business. So that's good prompt writing. The numbers are certainly coming in to cost justify this. In an organisation of 25 users, this basically pays for itself in 6 weeks. I thought I was special. That's what my mother used to say when I was a young boy. He's my special boy. I get 10 hours a week out of this stuff, savings. 10 hours, 2 hours a day. I got a major event to run in Sydney next week, whole day of sales training. I'm not panicked about it at all. Copilot's been my friend. It's created the content for me. It's got my demos, got my PowerPoints all set up. Scary thing is, you know, the weather's going to be crap and people aren't going to turn up. That's probably the scariest thing now. I thought that was special, 10 hours. And then I get a report that the Brisbane Grammar College is doing 9.5 hours for all their teachers, and 9.5 hours a week savings and increase in productivity for the students, the teaching staff. And these numbers keep rolling in from companies who are adopting Copilot. Not the ChatGPTs, not the Geminis, in a business context where they've got safety, security and governance and justifying the investment in it. So to Copilot Studio, because I know you've been doing some Power Automate stuff at the back, this is a natural fit. To your point about I don't have the connector, you can see we've got, well, that slide needs to be updated, sorry, to 1,300 connectors now. And that includes the MIBs, the Connect Wisers and the like. So this little video, again, we won't have audio. Here, the individual is going into SharePoint. They're going to ask a question of the SharePoint environment, what is the policy around travel? So looking at policy document about travel, why isn't it playing? Oh, here we go. So give me summarise a position on our travel policy. So it's going into that PowerPoint file, it's getting the policy information out of it. Transportation costs, travel insurance costs. Okay, how much budget is available in the next quarter for my customers to use? Well, it's going to look to the policy document. It won't have the specifics. Sorry, I can't get you the specific information, but I can provide you the general policy information. Oh, that's disappointing. I want to get the specifics. This is where we now go to Copilot Studio. We add a connection into, in this case, they're going to create a connection to SAP, which is where the travel budget information is stored. But you could think of that as MYOB, you could think of it as Xero, you could think of it as Jira, you could think of it as, you name the various accounting package or inventory management system. Provide some details asking when employee expenses are available. So it's creating this Copilot add-in. I'm now going to connect it, an action. It's going to go into SAP, look at the table of information in SAP, which is about expense budgets. All right, think of this in your own worlds. I'm also going to connect to our SharePoint site, which is the policy information. I'm now going to publish that information, save it, give it a name. All right, programmers at the back of the room know what this is all about, JSON files and the like. I'm now going to publish it and save it and make it available to everybody in my business. So I don't have to do that every time I want to use it. It's now available for anybody inside of Teams, inside the chat, to be able to do it. Now when they ask, it's got the specific information about this particular user, which is Kendra, saying, I have that much money remaining and I've got to spend it by then, and it's still compliant with our December 30th travel budget. So that query has become so much more powerful because it's connecting into what we call systems of record. It's going into your databases, it's going into your accounting systems, your CRM systems, your inventory systems, your warehousing systems, your HR systems, and it's bringing that query to be so much more powerful than just looking at a policy document in a SharePoint site. Great opportunity for the Moncrieff team, I think, to light that up in many of the organisations in the room today. This is the big one. It is so true. I was at a group a meeting this morning with, other people like yourselves, and that so resonated. This is the time that most people take a photo because they go, yep, that is spot on. They go the generative AI, they go the consumer-based AI model because they don't want to do the work to make sure their business is safe. You are launching into your business this cool technology called Copilot, which will respect everything around security and compliance, which the other products don't, but you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to put those bubbles in place between the HR department, the legal department, the sales department, the senior management team, so that information isn't overshared inside the business. Okay?
Everyone's got access to say.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody cares about sales data. So, anybody here got Microsoft 365 Business Premium? Yep. E3, E5, yep. You've got all these technologies, and the Moncrieff team can help you implement these technologies. They're foundational technologies that are available in your business to use, but you may not have activated. You've bought yourself a beautiful BMW with airbags, collision detection, roll bars, ISO lock kids. I do that for my grandkids, the ISO fixed seats. And guess what? You've turned it all off. You've made the car unsafe because you've gone and turned it all off. Well, please turn it on in the context of your business. Work with the Moncrieff team to go and activate things like this one here, Insider Risk Management. We spent 2 hours on this yesterday afternoon in a training session. Spent a whole day on training. Who turned up? Some of our partners. Who are they working with? Big customers here in the West, the miners, the banks, the government, because they know how critical it is to protect against insiders. People who get angry as employees and go, I am going to steal data. And they download it to USB drives and run away with customer lists and product lists and agreements. Activate that, it tells you. Austin, he's not happy. He left 2 weeks ago. With him, he took the cool customer list. It tells them that Austin did that. So that Matt can come out of a chat to Austin and say, you shouldn't have taken those customer lists. So that's just one of many features. I mentioned DLP earlier, didn't I, in the context of that construction firm. They knew who had sent the email with the list of female employees under 35 with their phone numbers because they'd activated the data loss prevention technology. Sensitivity labelling, auto labelling, information protection scanning. You got confidential documents, you don't want anybody able to copy that stuff into a personal repository, activate information protection. Basically says this is confidential document, and if somebody tries to save it to their personal G drive, to their personal OneDrive, put it in a Dropbox account, can't copy that, sorry, not allowed, that's protected information in the business. They even try and do a screen snip, hit the Alt-Shift, drag it out, print screen. What do they get? Black blob. The information is not screen printed. It's not copied as an image. And then Smarty Pants in the room usually says, well, what if I get my camera, that's yours, I get my camera on my phone and take a photo. It puts a watermark in the back. He says, well, that was the document that was sitting on so-and-so's screen. So that when it pops up in the media, we know whose screen was leaked by doing that sort of stuff. This is advanced stuff, isn't it? You've bought it. Turn it on. This is a little video that demonstrates some of that data security. I'll play it, because again, we're not going to have audio. So here we have a document, which is a purchase agreement document. And it has some level of rights protection. Two employees, Mario and Violet. So they're working on this agreements document as part of Project Falcon. They're part of the same group. Mario, here's the purchase agreement. You can see it's got restricted access, permissions. Violet is able to see this highly confidential document, which has got terms and conditions, payment terms with inside it. It's saved as highly confidential. Fantastic. Now she goes into SharePoint and searches for it. She can find that document. See there, Contoso purchase agreement. I can see that it's there. She even knows the folder it's stored in, which is the agreements folder. So Violet is able to go and see that file and open it up. But now we switch across to Mario. And Mario says, I want that document. He can't see the document in the list. It's not coming up. He hasn't got permission to access that file, even though he's part of the agreements, the project. But he specifically has been excluded. He sees a bunch of other documents that's got the word purchase in it, but he can't see that one. He even knows the file's stored in there, but he can't see it because he doesn't have permissions to that document. He can't access it. And then he goes to Copilot and says, well, give me a summary of the document because I know it exists. I know what its name is. He puts the slash in, he types the name. Sorry, I can't give you a summary of that document. You don't have permission to access that document. You're not allowed to see it.
Right.
And then we switch back to Violet, who has got permission. So here's this long purchase document. She says summarise. There it is, slash, a little bit of Contoso type. It's gone into the document, big document, and she's now getting a summary of that document, which is a confidential document, because she's got permission. And look at that, automatically it said, well, I know that this is a highly confidential document. I'm now going to highly confidential this document automatically. Because it was originally a highly confidential document, it must continue to be a highly confidential document, even in its summary form. You don't get that out of ChatGPT. You don't get that out of Propensity. You don't get that out of Claude. You don't get that out of Gemini. You don't get that out of consumer AI. You get it out of business grade, Copilot. To emphasise the point, your data is your data. We've been to court over that matter. We've had various different law enforcement and other entities serve notices on Microsoft to give your data to that law enforcement agent. We said no.
Not the way you want
Oh,
it.
We've then been served that writ, that demand, and we've gone to court on your behalf and paid the fees, the legal fees, to defend that your data is your data. It's not our data to give. We don't train the model on it. We don't remember the information that it generates. It is your data. And we also now introduce copyright protection. So if you generate something that looks exactly like somebody else's something and you haven't taken a copy of it and injected it into your environment, it will say, complete accident, that this has generated a document that's just like your document. And we give you, with our lawyers, defending that copyright protection. I think it's food time. I was just going to go into how seriously we take security. Surprise to you might be today, George, we're actually the biggest security company on the planet by a factor of 10. So whatever security brand just popped into your head, and there are hundreds of them, if not thousands, take it, you'll have to multiply it by at least 10 to get close to the scale. Microsoft does more in security now than in Windows. The amount of money you kindly put into buying our technologies is significantly more than the Windows business now. And it's not just focused on Microsoft. We actually protect Google. Most of the security technology on AWS now is Microsoft technology, providing governance and protection of the databases that run on AWS. I get invited to Apple events, filmed at the Apple Store, talking about Microsoft security. Why? Because they love Microsoft security more than any other security vendor out there. To do the management of the iPhones, to do the management of the MacBooks. It also works on Windows devices, works on Linux devices, and works on Android devices natively, and gives you that protection of not only the governance and compliance which we've been talking about, but that defense against viruses and ransomware. The ability to get insights to what's going on. You might have heard of brands like Splunk, QRadar. Yep, you've heard of them. So Sentinel. They're all being replaced by Sentinel because it's so much richer what Sentinel gives them in terms of the insights, because it ties in with generative AI to give them that ability to see the insights. And this one, you talked about it kindly earlier, Intune. It is the default way in which you do device management and application management. Apple loves it. We love it. You get a new device, all you have to do is type in your email address. It's just part of that thing you talked about, the Azure Active Directory, or now called Entra. Automatically it secures the device, deploys the applications to you, and when somebody leaves the organisation, you remove them from the group of users who are able to access your organisation. It deletes your work files from that Android device, from that Samsung phone, from that Apple Mac, from that iPhone 16, from that PC. Those files are automatically removed because you said, no, that user is no longer part of our organisation. Even though they had the files on that device, they are removed. Doesn't remove their photos, doesn't remove their personal information. These are winners in terms of how it's done. So in closing, it's a very exciting time ahead. I envy most, I think everybody in this room, because you've all got to be younger than 64. Yes? Younger than 64? Not you. That's why I was looking at you, sir. I thought you might be the only one in the room who might be a similar age to me. But I envy all of you because you are at the most exciting time, I think. If I wish I was my 20-year-old self and I was looking at what's possible with this technology, it's just mind-boggling. It's bigger to me than the internet because there was already networking technology around. The iPhone did change our lives, totally changed our lives, the way in which the iPhone did its thing. But this is a bigger changer. I didn't get a 2 hours a day saving when I got an iPhone. I didn't get a 2 hour a day saving when I got the internet. But when I got this, I'm getting 2 hours life back to be more creative, to spend my life on with my family, to deal with issues like a new fridge being delivered that the wife's freaking out about. That's okay. I've got time to spend on that. We now dedicate a day a week to learning in the company. So our Fridays, my Friday will be a learning day. I got more time to spend with you because I got time back instead of sitting there writing PowerPoint presentations and business proposals and Word documents and getting insights from information and analysing it. Copilot does it all for me. So I do envy you. With that, I thank you. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them now, but the food is starting to be served. Any questions, please? You got questions, I can see it. No? No, you're good? You're interested?
Wait, but we were here.